There is a tiny gland buried deep in the center of your brain, no bigger than a grain of rice, that the ancient masters of Zen Buddhism called the seat of the soul. And Western neuroscience has been desperately trying to understand it for decades. Most people walk through their entire lives with this gland calcified, dormant, sealed shut like a vault. But the monks knew exactly how to crack it open. What happens when you do will change the way you experience reality forever. For thousands of years, spiritual traditions from the Zen Buddhist monasteries of Japan to the Taoist hermits of ancient China to the Vedic sages of India all pointed to the same location inside the human body. Not to the heart, not to the gut, but to a microscopic cone-shaped structure sitting precisely at the geometric center of your skull. They called it different names: the third eye, the inner light, the divine seed. But they were all describing the same biological organ, the pineal gland. Right now, as you read these words, your pineal gland is most likely producing only a fraction of its true capacity. And the reason is not mystical. The reason is modern life itself. The fluoride in the tap water you drink every day, the artificial blue light radiating from the screens you stare at before bed, the chronic stress hormones that flood your bloodstream when you scroll through the news, the electromagnetic noise of the modern world. All of these forces act like concrete being poured slowly over a living spring. They calcify the pineal gland, layer by layer, year by year, until the organ that should be your most powerful biological antenna becomes nothing more than a hardened, silent stone inside your head. But here is what they never taught you in school. Calcification is not permanent. The ancient Zen masters discovered methods preserved across centuries in monastery walls and sealed manuscripts that can dissolve that calcification, reactivate the gland, and restore the inner perception that is your biological birthright. Today, we are decoding those methods, not as mythology, not as spirituality, as applied neuroscience. Before we go deeper, I need you to do something right now. Go to the comments and type the following decree: I open my inner eye. Do it now. Write it before you forget. These are not just words. Every intention you set in writing creates a measurable shift in your reticular activating system, the filter that decides what your brain pays attention to. You are giving your nervous system a new directive. I open my inner eye. Now let us talk about what this gland actually does. Your pineal gland produces melatonin, which you already know, but that is just the surface function. What mainstream science is now beginning to confirm is that the pineal gland also synthesizes a molecule called dimethyltryptamine. This compound has been found in the cerebrospinal fluid of mammals and is directly linked to the profound visual and consciousness-expanding experiences reported during deep meditation, near-death experiences, and the hypnagogic states between sleeping and waking. The monks did not need a laboratory to discover this. They had something far more sophisticated. Now 5,000 years of uninterrupted practice and ruthless self-observation. In Zen Buddhism, the path to awakening is not a path of belief. It is a path of direct experience. You do not think your way to enlightenment. You feel your way there. The pineal gland is the biological bridge between thinking and feeling, between the outer world of noise and the inner world of pure awareness. So, let us talk about how you build that bridge. The first thing you must understand is that the pineal gland is exquisitely sensitive to light. Not just the light that enters through your eyes, but subtle electromagnetic frequencies that the body can detect through a process called magnetoreception. Crystals of a biological compound called biogenic magnetite have been found inside the human pineal gland. These are the same nanocrystals that allow birds to navigate using the Earth's magnetic field. You have a biological compass built inside your skull, and when the gland functions at full capacity, it does not just track time or regulate sleep. It becomes a receiver for frequencies that the rest of your nervous system cannot access. The ancient Zen masters called this state mushin, the mind of no mind. It is not the absence of thought. It is the presence of pure awareness behind thought. And learning to access mushin is the first key to activating what they called the inner eye. Here is the first practice. Pay close attention, because most people do this wrong. Find stillness. Not the stillness of someone trying to be still, which is its own form of agitation. True stillness, the kind of stillness that a mountain has. Sit or stand with your spine vertical, the crown of your head reaching toward the sky, the base of your spine sinking toward the earth. This alignment is not cosmetic. When your spine is vertical, and the flow of cerebrospinal fluid from the sacrum all the way up to the ventricles surrounding your brain is optimized. The pineal gland floats in this fluid. It bathes in it. When that fluid circulates freely, the gland receives the chemical signals it needs to begin its deepest work. Now, close your eyes. Rather than looking at the darkness behind your eyelids, shift your attention slightly upward and inward, not the muscles of your eyes, but the focus of your awareness itself. Imagine that there is a point of light sitting 1 centimeter behind the center of your forehead, about 3 centimeters above the bridge of your nose. This is the anatomical location of the third ventricle, the fluid-filled chamber directly adjacent to the pineal gland. You are not imagining anything supernatural. You are directing your attention toward a real biological structure. Hold your awareness there. Do not force it. Do not strain. The way you look at a star in the night sky is not by staring directly at it, because the moment you stare, it disappears. You look slightly to the side and let it enter your peripheral vision. The inner eye works the same way. You do not grasp at it. You allow it. Breathe slowly through your nose. Each inhale for a count of 4. Each hold for a count of 4. Each exhale for a count of 6. This breathing ratio activates the parasympathetic nervous system with greater force than almost any other pattern. It suppresses the release of cortisol and adrenaline. It shifts your brain from beta wave activity, the frantic buzzing of daily thinking, into alpha waves, the relaxed and receptive state. Alpha waves are the gateway frequency, the tuning fork that your pineal gland resonates with most powerfully. As you breathe and hold your inner gaze at that point of light behind your forehead, you may begin to notice something. A warmth, a pressure, perhaps a subtle pulsing or vibration. Do not analyze it. Do not label it. Just let it be there. What you are feeling is increased blood flow and bioelectrical activity in the prefrontal cortex and the midbrain region where the pineal gland sits. In neuroscience, this is called activation. In Zen, they call it kensho. A glimpse. Now let us go deeper. One of the most powerful and least understood methods for activating the pineal gland comes from a phenomenon documented in military sensory deprivation research since the 1950s. When the visual cortex is deprived of external light input for extended periods, it begins to generate its own internal light. The brain, starving for visual information, turns its attention inward. And what it sees, what it generates from its own bioluminescent processes, is often described as geometric patterns of light, pulsing fields of color, and a profound sense of expanded space. The Zen monks achieved this not through deprivation tanks, but through a practice called zazen, seated meditation performed in complete darkness during the hours between midnight and 3 in the morning. This window is not arbitrary. Modern chronobiology has confirmed that the pineal gland reaches its peak production of melatonin and dimethyltryptamine precisely during these hours. The monks were not being mystical. They were timing their practice to coincide with the peak chemical output of the most powerful endocrine gland in the brain. You do not have to sit in darkness from midnight to 3 in the morning, but understanding the principle gives you the ability to approximate it through other means. One of the most effective is what the Zen tradition calls trataka, gazing without blinking at a single point of candlelight in a dark room, typically for 10 to 20 minutes. As you hold your gaze, your visual cortex undergoes a specific kind of habituation. The contrast between the flame and the darkness becomes the only input, and the brain, forced into single-pointed focus, begins to quiet the default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for self-referential thinking, rumination, and future anxiety. The network that burns through your mental energy before you even get out of bed. When the default mode network goes quiet, something remarkable happens. Your brain waves drop from alpha into theta. Theta waves between 4 and 8 cycles per second are the same frequencies recorded in advanced meditators during states of deep insight, in shamans during visionary ceremonies, in Sufi mystics during whirling, and in Zen monks at the moment of enlightenment. The ancient masters had no electroencephalogram machines to verify this, but they had 10,000 hours of experiential data and the humility to follow where the practice led. And it always led to the same place, the inner light, the stillness behind stillness, what the Japanese masters called the original face. The third technique will feel counterintuitive. It requires you to make sound. The pineal gland is surrounded by fluid that is highly sensitive to vibration. D-specific acoustic frequencies have been shown in laboratory settings to produce measurable changes in the electrical activity of the brain and to stimulate the production of neurochemicals associated with altered states of consciousness. The ancient Zen tradition uses chanting, not singing, not melodic music, but the sustained vibration of specific vowel sounds and sacred syllables that send a resonance directly up through the bones of the skull into the cranial cavity. The most fundamental of these is the sound of the letter O, held as a single long tone. When you produce this sound with your mouth gently closed, humming it through your nose and sinuses, you create a vibration that travels through the ethmoid bone at the back of your nasal passage directly toward the sphenoid bone, which forms the base of the skull. The pituitary gland, sitting in a small cavity in the sphenoid bone called the sella turcica, is the direct neurochemical partner of the pineal gland. These two glands communicate constantly. They form what ancient Indian science called the Ajna Sahasrara axis, what modern neuroscience calls the hypothalamic pituitary axis. When you vibrate this bone through sustained humming, you send a physical oscillation to both glands simultaneously. Try this right now. You sit with your spine tall. Take a deep breath through your nose. As you exhale, close your lips and hum inward, not a sound directed out. A sound vibrated into the center of your skull. Feel your sinuses fill with it. Hold that note for as long as your exhale lasts. Breathe in again and repeat. Do this 7 times. What you will notice, if you do this with genuine focus, is that by the 5th or 6th repetition, something shifts. The ordinary verbal chatter of your thinking mind goes quiet, not because you suppressed it, but because the vibration has disrupted the electromagnetic coherence of those thought patterns. This is the same principle behind transcranial magnetic stimulation therapy, the clinical technique of using magnetic pulses to disrupt and repattern brain activity. But here you are using your own voice as the instrument. This is what the Zen masters meant when they said the universe speaks through you. The voice is a biological tool with the ability to physically reshape the chemistry of your own brain. Now, let us bring everything together. Activation without integration is like pouring water into a cracked vessel. The water flows in and immediately escapes. The Zen tradition places enormous emphasis on what happens after the peak moment of insight. They call it coming back from the mountain. The transformation does not happen during the meditation. It happens in the return. When you bring the awareness cultivated in stillness back into the texture of daily life, the way you drink your morning tea, the way you walk from one room to the next, the way you listen when someone speaks to you. This is the practice of interbeing, the recognition that the boundary between you and everything else is far more permeable than you have been conditioned to believe. When the pineal gland is functioning at full capacity, this recognition is not a belief. It is a direct, visceral, continuous perception. Your biology is capable of this. It was designed for this. And what modern neuroscience is now discovering across the fields of neuroplasticity, chronobiology, and acoustic brain entrainment is confirming what those masters knew empirically thousands of years ago. You are not a machine. You are not just a collection of chemical reactions stumbling toward decline. You are a receiver, and the signal this ancient gland was designed to pick up has been broadcasting continuously through every moment of your life, waiting for you to tune in. The calcification can be dissolved, the frequency can be restored, the inner eye can open. But it requires something our era of instant results has almost extinguished. It requires patience. The willingness to sit in stillness when every algorithm on every screen is screaming for your attention. To choose the silence over the noise, again and again, until the silence becomes the ground from which everything else arises. This is not a weekend workshop. This is a practice for a lifetime. The Zen masters did not apologize for this. They said the path itself is the destination. You have already taken the first step. By choosing to be here, by letting these ideas land, by writing your decree in the comments. That act of intention is already a signal sent to your nervous system that something is changing. Your inner eye is not closed forever. It is simply waiting for you to remember how to look. The ancient monks never handed down these teachings to those who simply asked. They handed them down to those who kept showing up. Practice once and you will feel a change. Practice daily and you will become the change. The stillness you touch today is not a destination you visited and left behind. It is alive inside you right now and waiting beneath every thought like the ocean beneath the surface waves. Return to it. Return again tomorrow. The gland awakens in layers. Rust does not dissolve in a single breath, but breath by breath, session by session, the light inside you remembers itself. Your decree stands. You opened your inner eye today. If something shifted in you during this video, even a flicker, that is the signal. That is the gland waking up. Hit the like button right now and share this with someone who is ready to stop sleepwalking. Subscribe to Pure Zen Space and ring the notification bell, because what comes next in this series goes even deeper into the forgotten science of inner awakening. The marrow washing techniques, the vagus nerve reset, the 9-breath activation method. None of it will reach you if you are not subscribed. Join this community of people choosing consciousness over comfort. We are just getting started.